y'all. Welcome to Candid Conversations with Carla. Well, today we're going to actually talk about, am I rejecting my help? So, what do I mean by am I rejecting my help? Well, from time to time, we are praying about something or something's been weighing on our hearts, and we're looking for answers, or we're looking for our help in that need, whether it's a need or whether it's something that we're just unclear about. Well, a lot of times I have found that in um, our quest for answers or our help, we actually have a preconceived idea of how that help looks, right? And what do I mean by that? That means that we expect it to look a certain way or for it to come from a certain person. But it's so important to recognize that our help or the way that God answers our prayer or send help our way is not always, it does not always look like what we think it should. For example, if you were going through something and you needed aid in a certain thing, and God decides to bless you through your enemy, the very person that you despise, or the very person that has come up against you, right? That's not how you want it. That's not who you want to help you. Why? Because our pride and our ego get in the way. Or let's say, for example, you were asking God for a financial breakthrough, right? And He decides, you know what? I want to bless you with your own business. But because His ways are higher than our ways, we can't see the blessing in losing our job, right? Because now He wants you to seek Him for the strategy to start that business, right? Or we get uncomfortable because we have that stability of that job. And so God is always answering us, but are we missing the help that He sends? Are we missing the answers that He's given? You may be stressed out and you haven't gotten any rest, or you're in the hustle and bustle of life and you can't seem to catch a break. Well, one day you end up sick, okay, or under the weather, right? And in that time, He has allowed you to rest. It doesn't look like you think, because your idea of rest was, oh, I needed a vacation. But God wanted you to hear from Him. And so when we think about like the scripture that says, He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. Well, those green pastures, they're green, but they don't always look green, right? So He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. So He could allow something so that you can hear from Him, so that you could rest in Him, right? So we're just talking about, am I rejecting God's help for me, right? You know, we, that, when the scripture talks about lean not to your own understanding, we have to get out of our own way and our own thoughts and the way that we think that things should go or be, right? So let's say you were, You said, well, God, where's my husband? I've been waiting all this time. Well, the question is, how were you waiting? Were you seeking God with all of your heart? Right? Were you fulfilling your purpose? Because while fulfilling your purpose, that's where you're going to meet that spouse. Right? So if you're not doing the will of God, then how were you going to run into that spouse? So we have to make sure that we are not missing God's help for us. I know there's a little story or a little, I don't know, an example of that we've heard probably over the years, right? And where the guy he ends up going to heaven, and he said, God, he was in a storm, right? And he was saying, um, I made it to heaven, but you said that you were going to send help. And God told him, I sent you help 3 times. I sent a boat. I sent a helicopter. And I sent someone to tell you where to go. And you missed every single time. And why did he miss it every single time? Because it didn't look like he thought it should look. It didn't come in the package that he thought it should come in. And so I just want to just put it on our minds that, you know what? Let's not miss our help, the help that God has actually sent us, because we are in our own minds about how that should look like. It may not be through the person that you think it should come through. It may not look like it should look like. Matter of fact, we are not going to be, we may be uncomfortable with the answer. We may be uncomfortable with the situation, but it doesn't mean that it's not God. It doesn't mean that God is not, and that's another thing. And that's what we're quick to say, right? Oh, God didn't answer my prayer, or I'm still waiting, when our help was sitting right there. So we have to incline our ear. We have to make sure that we are listening and that we're in tune with what God is saying, or how he decided to help you. So I just wanted to just give us something to think about. We don't want to miss the answers that God has given us. We don't want to miss. It's not that God is not speaking. It's not that God hasn't heard you. He's heard you. But sometimes we reject our very help. We reject the answer that God has sent, even several times, several ways. It may not be something that you want to hear, but I implore you today to accept God's answers for you. All right, you guys, I will see you next week. Happy holidays. And I'll see you here at 7:30 next Tuesday.